you can use this to identify opportunity and provide real value. Because like so agency, consultant, super valuable. Also,
hey, why don't you just give us $1,000 a month and we'll start to realign everything. Let's talk about engagement and how engagement works in a restaurant once you have a visual presence, right?
What I see you doing more than anything is
it's not a people problem, it's just a systems problem.
Kind of like 3 ingredients that make up a system, that you have to have these 3 things together. You have
around, you've got people. They just need systems.
Like what do the robots do? Well,
I think one system that's very unique is a buyer's journey.
That's how I want to use AI. I don't want to use AI to try to replace my voice or my brand or my marketing.
AI's job is to make you more human.
I don't even have to do the job. I can let the robots do it, do the thinking for me.
When was the last time you followed a restaurant on Instagram and they actually made you feel seen?
Best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. Next best time is today.
Just kind of like do a good job at ignoring and ghosting everybody.
It's starting with my favorite question, which is, what is the problem we're trying to solve?
Yeah, well, if you're not measuring, you're just guessing.
If you're not measuring, you don't know, and so that's why.
Okay, well, how we do anything is how we do everything.
And I already know, like, your immediate reaction is probably going to be something like,
and what is the most important thing?
Finding out what the most important thing is.
I mean, finding out what the most important thing is the most important thing?
100,000 bazillion %. All right, what are we talking about today?
I sent you a thing.
Elevating the visual spine of Chawan Ale and Masala House. Proposal that you put together for a client?
Yeah, but I want to talk about the process. Really more than I want to talk about the actual proposal.
Yeah.
It's like we were having, this was that Sunday that we were like going to have lunch together, right?
Yeah.
So this was that place we went to. I took a photo of and sent to you. And I'm thinking about Heather, so you got a designer or social media person who's always looking for a monthly retainer, right? And they're usually like check to check, contract to contract, project to project. So they never see cash flow. And if you never have predictable cash flow, you can't build a business. You can never scale. You're only as good as your next contract, right? So I'm sitting there and I've always been talking to Heather about how to like build this cash flow system and subscription model. And then I start looking around this restaurant. I'm like, it's always around us everywhere we go. The same thing, that an operator gets busy with operations and they let their visual drift. And what's really cool about what we've started to uncover with what we're doing with Accelerator is that we're a better companion to people that already have clients who they can see this issue with, or they can go out and target new clients with their services, but we're a little bit downstream from what they need to do, right? So basically this process was, I go, Heather, what do you think about this place? She's like, oh, I see it. I see what you're talking about. And usually we just numb ourselves from this,
Sure.
And then I'm like, all right, so I get on ChatGPT and then I'm like, hey, so this is what I want to do. I want to write an operational spine for running a red thread from design to operational drift. It gives me this thing. Then I take this and then I take that prompt and I clean it up. And then I take it and I drop it into Notebook LM.
Yep.
And then I basically at the restaurant, and I just take photos of every visual that I can find at the restaurant. And I upload all those photos and that prompt into Notebook LM and it kicks out this presentation.
Yeah, and then you end up with this this epic presentation, which really, like, so if I'm recapping, kind of hearing what you shared, you're having an in-person experience. You noticed a problem, which we see prevalent in all kinds of different businesses, which is that the operator gets like head down in just like the operations of the business, and then you end up with this kind of drift with what you're doing with customer experience, engagement, all the stuff that we talk about.
Hodgepodge of visuals, customer service, right? And
Yeah.
then your social media, and then your engagement is so far down the stream. If you can't sell anything, so like I was basically like screenshotting everything or taking photos of all their menus and everything, and it was like Notebook LM came back and said, yeah, there's some problems here, like So essentially I was like, hey, why don't you just give us $1,000 a month and we'll start to realign everything. You stay doing what you do, sustain the business, but let us come in. And then this becomes one of those JV partnerships. And then a JV partnership is that once they're back to kind of like that ground floor, then let's talk about engagement and how engagement works in a restaurant once you have a visual presence, right? Because everyone kind of like,
Totally.
so that's what I was saying is like, I want to talk about the process. I think the process of like how to use tech and AI to create something like a presentation like this in 30 minutes is by just taking photos when you're out to dinner. Like we didn't even talk about it at dinner. We just took photos,
100%. Because if you
and we just identified it, you know?
Yeah, because if you're looking for clients, whether you have an agency business or a consultant, something like that, a coach, you can use this to identify opportunity and provide real value. Because like if you package this up and share it with the chef owner of this restaurant, there's tremendous value just in the perspective of what you noticed and you packaging this up. Because again, they're like heads down operations. So agency, consultant, super valuable. Also for the small business owner, like if you are the chef owner, you have your own winery, distillery, boutique hotel, you name it, you could go through this same process for yourself, right? Like there's something I think to the process that you discovered that was, I'm just going to gather these. I notice something. I start with what I notice. I'm going to gather some input. So I'm going to just like take some happy snappies with my phone.
Happy snappies.
And some happy snappies. And then I'm going to feed it into a couple of these tools like a ChatGPT or a Claude or a Notebook LM to stitch it together to really help me. What I see you doing more than anything is clarifying your thinking. Like you've taken these problems, these ideas, and like, okay, let me visualize what is the problem we're trying to solve and what do we actually need to do about it into this format now where it's way easier to have a conversation about instead of this like ambiguous what's going on in the bit, like, yeah, sure, like what are you trying to sell me, or what do I need to do? I'm already so busy like running my business. You've used this tool to clarify your thinking.
Yeah. And I think people just don't even know how to use a tool. You know what I mean? Like this, I think the value of here is like, not only can I do this quickly for your business and come up with a proposal that I could sell you, you could do this just as quick by doing it to improve your own business. This is called working in your business and not on your business. It took me 30 minutes to get something to pitch you that you might find very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, so check, I sent you another one. Look at this next one. This guy, he just sent me an email. He's like, hey, we're looking for somebody to redo our menus.
Okay.
Right? So same prompt. All I did was swap out the screenshots from my email that I got from him. So I copied his email.
Yep.
And that's his logo, which was on his menu. And basically, literally, this took 8 minutes. You know, I took his email, I read it. I'm like, hey, I'll be right back with an idea for you. And this was everything that he wanted in his email to have done. And you'll see it even references, like it pulls in the red thread of hospitality, talks about like operations adrift again. There's his current menus that we noticed. Like it does a visual diagnostic based on the prompt I gave it. And then it basically says, here's your offer.
Yep.
10 hours of support. You're always going to need more. What we do for you, you know, and it's just an ongoing monthly thing. And either we're helping your team be better at what they do, giving them better direction, better assets, better templates. But, you know, this way, you know, and then you get the 30-hour trial. I mean, it basically just kicks this thing out in like minutes. So now all I have to do is go to restaurants that are a little disconnected visually. I screenshot their Instagram page. I screenshot their website. I look at their menus. I look at what they have on site. There's no CTAs, no call to actions, no lead magnets. And we can diagnose people in like minutes. Like it's, and then just send these leads out, right? So it solves so many different problems when you start to look at AI as this approach, right? I mean, really, we're not just talking about how do we pitch more restaurants, more offers, right?
Sure.
I'm trying to say, restaurants, Hospitality brands, why don't you learn what AI can do for you in a very small amount of time so you can better train and better equipped and better solutionize your team so they can move forward with better direction? Because right now, if you do not know what your teams are bringing in for revenue and you don't have revenue scorecards on them,
Yep.
and you don't have measurements for engagement in social media to know what that return on investment is, then you're just wasting money, or you're not spending any money at all because you don't value the outputs, right?
Right.
Like I talked to somebody
Right.
the other day and they're like, yeah, so my GM and the chef, they do all the social media. I'm like, okay, so your chef and GM are your social media managers. And my other one didn't work out too well for his other restaurant. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, keep everybody in their lane, right?
Yeah. Would you go hire a social media manager to be your chef?
Right? And it's just that everybody is so many hats in so many different ways in every business, you know? And, you know, I was talking to somebody yesterday about the same thing, and it's just like, it's not a people problem, it's just a systems problem. You know, if you don't have a system around it, you've got people. They just need systems.
Yeah.
And your systems need to be measurable.
So I love systems. It's a word I throw around a lot. When you say systems, I'm curious, what do you mean? Because I think people that are listening, watching, they probably have their own definition, or maybe they're just like, I don't know what that, like, what does it mean when I need a system? Like, do I need to have checklists? Do I have what? Like, when you talk about the system, like, what do people need?
I think one system that's very unique is a buyer's journey.
Mm-hmm.
I think one system that's very unique is the analogy or the illustration of the very clean pipeline, right?
Yep.
So buyer's journey is first touch, first piece of awareness, first knowledge of you exist to the moment they become a super fan or buy something from you, right?
Sure.
There's a journey there. There's something that happens, a ton of different interactions and feelings and emotions and psychology and, right? You have to objections, all this fun stuff.
Yep.
Now on the pipeline, that's like, you just got to be the guy. You got to be the roto-rooter. Like, your job is to get water through that pipe. And if you're in your way and your own bottleneck, you're the hair and the sludge on the side of the pipe that's, you know, stopping the water from going through freely, right? And you use that illustration all the time. Like, let's just clean the pipeline up, so things can go through at a generally like modest rate, and then you can measure your gallons per minute. And if something slows that gallons per minute down, then you can identify, oh, there might be a splinter in there that's making me walk slower today, you know? So I think there's a lot of, so I don't know, what do you think about systems? Are those two good systems that you think?
Yeah, when I think of systems, there's a really great book I love and I've kind of nerded out on called Thinking in Systems by a woman named Donella Meadows. Highly recommend the read, Thinking in Systems, because it gives you a way. I forget what that principle is when, you know, let's say you buy a new Tesla and then all of a sudden you see Teslas everywhere. Teslas are already everywhere, but you see, you know, the thing that you buy, or you buy, you know, this new kind of clothes and you start to see it everywhere. I think the same thing is true in systems. When you start paying attention to systems, you will start to notice and see them everywhere. And what this book does really well is it talks about different kinds of systems, everything from, you know, a natural park to a restaurant to a business to a family. And when I think of systems, and specifically within business, I think the ones that you shared are absolutely critical. Having your kind of customer acquisition or that onboarding system is really important. But what actually is a system? Well, the way I think of it is there's kind of like three ingredients that make up a system, that you have to have these three things together. You have content, you have processes, and you have automation, or you know, which essentially means the content is the words, images. At a restaurant, it would be the ingredients, like the physical raw material, like that's part of the content. The menus are the content. Like, we have to have these pieces. That's part of the system. Your menu is part of your system. The ingredients are part of the system.
So
Then you have,
let me throw like the bookends in there just to see if I'm
yeah,
hearing you correctly. So on one far side you have input, and the other side you have output, and in the middle you've got these three chapters.
totally. Yes. These three chapters, these three ingredients, because really there's a difference, I think, between a pipeline and a system. You have a pipeline, like you mentioned, and I think we should all think of our business like a pipeline. What's step 1, 2, 3? Like if you could think of your business like an assembly line, and you think of if you cultivate an experience when somebody books a tasting and comes to your space, what are the literal steps that they would walk through from before they even find out about you to booking the tasting to having an amazing experience to telling all their friends about it after? There's a sequence. There's a pipeline. The system, the job of the system is to move people through that pipeline, to make sure that they have a phenomenal experience, that they tell all their friends about it, that they get more than what they had expected. So you have the pipeline, which is the series of steps they go through. The system moves them through that. So what is a system? Well, the system is made up of a few things. It's made up of content. It's made up of processes, which essentially means like, what do the humans do? So how does the host greet you when you walk through the door? How does the server explain the menu? How does the chef prepare the food? And then you have the automation. Like, what do the robots do? Well, when they plug the order in to their POS system and it prints up a ticket and generates the receipt that is later used to, one, it goes to the kitchen so they know what to cook. Some of that stuff is automated. Now, a lot of times in a business like a boutique hotel or a brewery or a restaurant, we think of it as a very manual, like artisan type of business because we're working with our hands, we're engaging with people, but there still is automation that's happening. And the same can be true in any kind of business system. You have content, you have processes, which is essentially what do the humans do, and then you have automation. What is being done by software, AI, tools, and that mix allows us to go, okay, to get people through this pipeline and give them the best experience possible and to deliver even more value than they could ever anticipate, what does the system need to look like? What do the humans need to do? What content do we need? What ingredients do we need? And then what automation? Where can we find leverage with the robots?
I like leverage with robots. Isn't that what AI means?
That's what AI stands for. But if we look at it in this same way, now let's take it more in the digital world, because I think this will start to make even more and more sense in the digital world. You could pay a PR company or a social media manager to do what? To create content. They're going to write words. They're going to pull together graphics and visuals, press kits, whatever. They're going to create content, right?
Yep.
Their process, what the humans do, they're going to, maybe they're typing into their computer, they're doing the things that like Heather does with graphic design, they're designing stuff. They have their process to create that. And then there might be some automation. They might use some tools to say, hey, they're going to submit this press release, and then that's going to like syndicate out through a bunch of different people that are going to promote that. But they're not individually going to each one of those distributors say, hey, go post this press release or whatever. They're putting it, so they're using a little bit of automation.
A good reference there is like people use a lot of Notion to automate the review and approval process.
Yep.
And then they use tools like third-party broadcast tools like Metricool to
totally
push it out there, or schedulers, and those are automations,
Yep.
Those save people from doing manual work.
Yep. And then you look at, I think a lot of times we tend to like gravitate towards the AI, the automation piece. And so if we look at that same exact pipeline, hey, we need to put together content that we use to promote the business. We put press out there. A lot of folks will then start to lean on AI. They're like, oh, I can automate the content creation process. I used to have to sit down at the computer and like type all the words that we're going to go and send out. So now I'm just going to plug something into ChatGPT, let ChatGPT automate it. But then you automate the wrong thing or you do it in the wrong way, you end up with AI slop. And then all of a sudden you just blend in with everyone else. So I think there's an art to thinking in systems, to good system design, of really asking yourself a few of these questions of like, okay, what is my pipeline? What are the actual stages that I'm trying to get someone to walk through as my future client, as my client? What is my pipeline? That's question number one. Question number two is then, okay, what content do I need to move them? Like, what's going to give them that incredible experience? What's going to move them from a stranger to a new conversation, from a conversation to a client or a buyer? And then being very intentional about what are the humans going to do? What are the robots going to do? Because I want to use the robots to give me leverage, so that I can exploit my humanness. I mean, I can actually be more human. Like if I don't have to spend all of the time doing the tedious work inside of my business, and that gives me more time to be more human with my clients, that's how I want to use AI. I don't want to use AI to try to replace my voice or my brand or my marketing. I want to use it as a tool. But that's where, like, I see so many folks that are using these tools in the wrong way. It's like, no, like, you're cutting yourself off at the legs. You are intentionally choosing to rip out the soul from your business, when you should be using AI to give yourself leverage so that you could lean in more to who you are and your authentic humanness, and being able to actually, especially I think in the hospitality space.
Yeah, and you hear me go on about this all the time, that AI's job is to make you more human. Mm-hmm. And if you don't leverage that in that very specific way, your business is going to be a lookalike. And I agree with you 100% that if we're going to talk about systems, that when was the last time you look at a chef, operator, winemaker, distillery owner, they live this like lavish world, right? Like they're not looking at the buyer's journey as a buyer. They're expecting the people that they hire as marketers and salespeople to move their product. But the reality is, like questions I love asking owners in the hospitality brand space is, when was the last time you followed a restaurant on Instagram and they actually made you feel seen? When they actually responded, thank you for the follow. Looks like you have a great family, kids. Wow, like you travel. You won a bike race last week. Amazing. You look really healthy and fitness. Like that must take a lot of work. Thanks for following us. Really appreciate it. Then you respond back. Great. Thank you. That's a really nice compliment. And then all of a sudden, yeah, man, like what's your favorite restaurant in town? Where do you like to eat? Like, when was the last time you ever had that experience by following someone on Instagram? They're like, never. I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, that's a problem. That's like just talking to somebody like you met them in the elevator, sitting at a dinner. Like, we're missing the biggest stage of hospitality, which is the first impression, right?
Yeah.
And then when was the last time you thought about talking to your team of like, hey, so what turns you on to going to another distillery? What makes you want to book that tasting tour? What makes you want to book that reservation? What makes you want to buy that handbag, right? It's that psychology that we're not applying as part of that buyer's journey. We're expecting people who are really smart to figure that out for us, but then we're asking them why our room's empty 3 nights a week, right? What happened? Like, I'm just saying, you have to be obsession based in that space of where you first hear about a product, where you get that word of mouth, where someone says, oh, this restaurant's really good, you should go check it out. I trust you. I'm going to go book that reservation now. That's where people should be spending money, right there, like right in that moment, the moment that makes you. But the thing is, these owner and operators are so adrift from that one moment of inspiration to make a purchase or to become aware of a new product and to figure out how to enter that buyer's journey. That is the job of the marketer that has highly failed the hospitality industry to date. And I want to see that get fixed. But how do we do that?
Where do you typically see the biggest growth or kind of the biggest splash in any kind of hospitality business? And it could be a restaurant, it could be a boutique hotel or venue, or even a product. And it tends to be, at least my perspective, what I see as an outsider from hospitality, when people in the market start talking about it. Seth Godin says, in marketing, you got to be remarkable. And all that means is do something worth remarking about, make it easy to remark about it. And if you go out, you're like, okay, I got to try to solve this problem. I'm going to hire this PR company or the social media person. All that they're going to do is they're just bringing you tactics. the thing that they're missing at the baseline
AI
level is
slop tactics. AI slop tactics. AI slop tactics.
they're only getting lazier with AI. It's like they're like, oh great, now I can charge you more because I don't even have to do the job. I can let the robots do the thinking for me without understanding.
They think they're so sly for it too.
They do, because you know what they don't understand, Brady? They don't understand the pipeline. They're trying to solve a tactic of like, you need growth, you need awareness around your brand, so we're going to sell you our thing, we're going to sell you our scope of work, we're going to sell you our retainer, and then we're going to be in your corner, we're going to be just like working for you. Well, that doesn't matter. You need someone who actually understands the pipeline of like, okay, well, if I am going to enter into the conversation that's already happening in the mind of your prospect, of your market that you serve, how do I actually go ahead and do that? Because if you have someone who's intentionally thinking that way, that's the kind of content you need to be producing. And then that's where, to your point, where simple engagement on social media would set you light years apart. So why is nobody focusing on that? Well, it's because they don't even understand the fact that there is a pipeline. They just know, I've got this tactic, I've got this one little party trick, and I can exchange that for money. And whether that ends up actually moving the needle in your business or not, I'll say that I care. I don't really care. I just care that you're going to give me money for my party trick. When the real problem to solve is, what is the pipeline of engagement? Where are people coming at, and how do I actually engage with them from the point that they don't know me from Adam to, oh, they've just entered my world and been told about me for the first time, to, oh, now they've had an incredible experience and they're actually going to be part of my marketing arm, because then now they're going to start me raving fans telling everyone else about me.
And I think the engagement part is the one that everyone's just so sleeping on right now. They want to do the awareness. They want to make things look pretty. They want to do the vanity play. They want to take somebody's opportunity for them to grow their business, to grow their own business, and to find new clients. And I rant about this all the time. Like, agencies who are first to put you up on their website and don't care if you leave, and they keep you up as past clients or current clients. Like, come on. Like, you either know what you did for them, or they left because you weren't doing it for them. And sure. That's the point, right? Like, and I just see, like, everybody is sleeping so hard at engagement. Like, they don't even know what engagement is. I have one client, AKA myself, sorry, I'll point it out there, but I have a client who essentially 6,000 open, unread messages from 2 months of doing engagement. Like, if you do it right, there's a lot of people who want to talk, and they're ready to chat, and they're ready to engage. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any, like, I can't even imagine 6,000 open emails in my inbox of people who are interested to do stuff. Like, that's a problem. But you do it on Instagram and you're just like, oh, just forget about it. Like, we're going to let little Susie just run that social media program into the ground until we need to find a new agency. And then, by the way, we're going to be up on their website for 12 years while we're going to be posted on other websites as clients. So now we might have like 4 or 5 different agencies that show that they're doing work for us, but only one actually currently work for us. Like, yeah. It's a mess, and nobody understands how engagement works. Like, I have probably 5 to 8 people that I'm really impressed by who always respond and always read and respond like they read it and understand it.
Yeah.
You know? So I think engagement is just a huge sleeper, and that's an entire system in itself, is how to understand what I call it enlightened engagement. You know, after taking on kind of this concept of enlightened hospitality, how do you do that for engagement? What does that look like? What does it feel like? What do you tell your social media people you need to do as a non-negotiable? Don't even come work for me if you can't do this simple thing. And I'm telling you, it's simple, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's literally the oh shoot, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's the pivot point in our model that we use with all of our clients. It's called the growth map model. Name of my company is Growth Map. And what the growth map model is your acquisition system. It is, how do we take strangers and turn them into clients? And just like the human body is made up of all different kinds of systems, your skeletal system and your nervous system and your muscular system, your immune system, all these different systems, your business is too. And there's 5 systems that make up the acquisition system. The one literally in the middle, it's 3 out of 5, is the engagement system. It's the thing that bridges the gap. Because on one side, you have your traffic and lead gen system. Its sole job is to capture attention. Can I get in front of the right people with the right message? Like, can I actually get their attention in the first? Can I stand out? Because it's so busy. And that's why some businesses that are physical, brick and mortar, will do all kinds of traffic studies just to see where foot traffic is and where they want to be placed. They'll spend tons of money just to figure out where they're going to be, because that's all about that first part, the capture attention. And then on the other side, you have the convert attention stuff. You have your nurture system and your sales system.
Capture attention is somehow they heard about your restaurant. Convert attention is, I actually went to the Resi app or your website and booked a reservation.
I booked a tasting, booked a reservation, stayed at your hotel, bought your product.
Easy.
Exactly.
Yep.
And your acquisition system are all the different little kind of like subsystems, just like your skeletal system, your nervous system, that have one job, which is to move people along your pipeline. And the one that's in the middle is your engagement system. And it has one job. It's to take people who you've got their attention when you on the capture attention side. You've not yet converted them, and you have one job, and that's to get them into conversation. And when I say conversation, that literally means, like, can we get them engaged to reply to a text message, a DM, a call, an email, a post on social media. It doesn't matter like where the conversation happens. It can happen any number of places. But it's the difference of just having leads, having clicks, having eyeballs, and actually having revenue. Because conversion happens in conversation. It doesn't happen anywhere else. I mean, sure, you could go to the your local sushi spot where you order on a tablet and a robot comes and serves you, and there might be something kind of like fun and quirky about those kinds of restaurants. But you go into 98%, 99% of restaurants, and what are you dealing with? You're dealing with humans. You're having conversation. You're asking the server what's their favorite on the menu and why. You're giving them your preferences. You're engaging in that conversation. And the same thing has to happen on digital before they ever show up, because otherwise what happens is you spend all this time and money on PR and social media and website and brand and all that stuff, and you do a really good job on the capture attention side of things with your traffic system and maybe even your lead gen system. But then you don't have that bridge in the middle between the two. You don't have the engagement system. All the money leaks out that part of your pipeline.
So let's put it in a very crystal clear framework, and you tell me if this is right or wrong. So you have the ability as a restaurant owner, a winery owner, a distillery owner, whatever, right? You have this tasting experience that you want people to book. So they become aware, they make a reservation, and then they come inside, but you've got your nurturing and engagement down to a science. You've got playbooks on how to train your servers. They go through training. They do follow-bys or follow-lists. They basically taste all the food. They talk to the chef. They have to take tests and quizzes. And then they eventually, as they've been trained, eventually all these things happen. And then they get to start taking tables on themselves. And then we're following along, what's going on, how's it going, nurturing them, so there's this, let's call it 110 points to service, right? Everything from when to drop a fork to how to open a bottle of wine. Everything is watched underneath the right umbrella or the right roof, right? But do you have something that strict and scripted? They script everything for you at a restaurant. Here's what tonight's specials are. Here's what our cocktails are. Here's how you speak about it. Here's how you sell it. Here's how you say goodnight. Here's how quick you have to say goodnight. Here's how you drop your check. Here's how you show them to the bathroom. Don't show them. Walk them. You know what I mean? You have all of these things that happen. This is all scripted. But then you shit the bed when it comes to your goddamn digital concierge. You just ignore all the rules. Like, what is going on in engagement? You literally go so deep, so hard in the paint and your restaurant and your tasting rooms, but when it comes to digital, you throw your money at something you act like you don't care about besides it looking pretty.
Yeah.
That is the fail. And I think if you don't have a system there, now is the time to put a system in place.
Totally. Yeah. Best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. Next best time is today. So, you don't need to, it doesn't need to be this big complicated thing. It can start with something as simple as like what you shared with the compliment ladder. Like, what if you just started, you're like, okay, I know Brady, Gabriel are telling me like, I got to have this system. I got to do all this stuff. Like, what if I just started by, okay, 5 times a day, I'm going to, on social media, on Instagram, I'm going to go, pay someone a compliment.
Oh my God, wait, you're going to pay someone a compliment? You're going to give someone a compliment?
Yeah.
You're going to pay someone to pay someone a compliment?
Pay. Yeah.
What are you paying them for right now? Like, what do you pay your social media person for right now, Gabe? You know what I mean? Like, to ignore them. I want you to, hey, could you show up tomorrow? I want you to post really pretty photos and videos, and then just kind of like do a good job at ignoring and ghosting everybody until tomorrow when you come in and post more stuff.
More pretty photos.
And make us look inaccessible, like we're super cold. But when they come to the restaurant, let's shower them with love. Just say, hey, just tell them, wait till you get to the restaurant. Then
it'll be awesome.
Compliments galore. We love your hat, ma'am. Like, what great shoes.
Yeah, no, I told my wife that. I was like, we have 4 kids, right? Our oldest is 16, youngest is 8. And I'm like, babe, don't worry. Like, when we retire, like, it's going to be awesome then. But for now, like, don't worry. Like, I'm not going to talk to you. We're not going to do date night. We're not going to hang out. But in like 15 years, when the kids are out of the house, like, it's going to be amazing. And trust me, it will.
I've got a whole system set up for it. It's scripted, everything.
it's dialed. It's dialed. But it's what we do. And again, it's understandable because we're, so many operators are like deep in the weeds operating their business, to where I understand why. Because if you have someone that comes in that says, hey, I can handle this thing that you don't understand, you want to trust them. I get it. But if they can't actually solve the problem, if they don't have the right playbook, then you'd be better off just not even doing it. Like, save the money. I was talking with an owner a couple of weeks ago, and she was telling me how the past 2 years, she's been in business 16 years. In the past 2 years, she's been on this journey, and she's like, feels like I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall. I've spent so much money on so many different agencies, freelancers, different like tactics and ideas. I've even generated all of these leads. She's like, Gabriel, I haven't closed one of, like, not one of them has turned into a client. Not one of them. And I'm like, well, I could tell you why, and the reason why is because you've just been dealing with a bunch of folks who have these tactics, they have these party tricks, and you want to believe that the party trick is going to solve the problem, but the problem is it's a symptom. It's not, you're not attacking the root. You need an actual system, and she realized that, and then already making fast progress. Because as soon as you realize what the actual problem is, solving it gets so much easier.
I mean, and this is like, it's interesting because I put out a post the other day about it, and it caught a comment. It was like, we've talked about it before. If you're not getting 10% back on your money, it's a simple equation. Just every single person that you hire, just give them a 10% rule. Just, can you show me a 10% return? Otherwise, walk out the door.
Yeah.
Show me that I'm going to pay you a month for social media at $3,000, and I'm going to get $3,300 back. Just show me that, please. That's all I want to do. Proof. Do whatever you do. Give me money back. PR. Same thing. I'll give you $4,000, but can you show me on paper with verifiable facts that you know for 100% certainty that $4,400 went back in my pocket that month?
Right.
I will do that all day long. You know why? Because on month 3, I'm going to look at that system and I'm going to figure out how can we scale it. Mm-hmm. Consistency scales. Bullshit can't. That's the fact, right? And I think that's the source of truth right there, is that people just don't understand what does it look like to have people who want you to make money. Guess what? You don't let them go. I mean, imagine if everybody in your restaurant, everyone in your business, everyone around you just said, my job this year is to make you 30% more profit. Guaranteed. That's all I care for. We have no job descriptions. It's just 30% more profit. And you did that for 10 years.
You'd be all right.
You'd be
You'd
okay.
be all right.
So what is wrong? The hiring process.
Yeah.
It is. It's hard to look in the mirror at certain things because either you can do it yourself or you need to rely on others. And there are people who are very successful and have very great companies as a party of one. And then there are people that are like the many to one, you know? And I think it's one of the defining factors is like, what's going to be the tools that you learn right now that are going to give you inspiration to figure out how to fix the systems that are in place and which ones to start with first, you know? And I think you said it earlier, like, you know, what did you say? If you're just doing it wrong right now, you're doing it wrong, but at least you're doing it. That's the first start. You're just getting the reps in, right? It doesn't mean if you just stay committed to it and you're going to fix it, then you're going to actually come out the other side. That's what success is. So how do you figure out how to fix the right thing that is going to make the biggest impact for you this week?
Yep. And the best way I know to handle that is starting with my favorite question, which is, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And I already know, like, your immediate reaction is probably going to be something like, we need more revenue, we need more customers, we need better marketing. Those are typically the answers that come up first. That's not good enough.
I just had a brain seizure because that's too much. I don't know how to do all that, Gabe. Like, that's a lot this week, you know? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where most people have the brain seizure, because they stop at that answer, and then all of a sudden they have all these different things bouncing around their brain. Is, I need more revenue, more customers, better marketing. But that's not the answer. You got to get ultra specific. This is one of the things that, you know, love him or hate him, Elon Musk, I think, does better than anybody else in the world, is be able to answer that question. He can go to any one of his businesses. He's sitting at kind of like the highest level, looking over the whole business, and then he can dive into the dirt at the runway level and get very crystal clear on, okay, what is actually the problem? It's like, okay, the problem right now with Tesla is we've got these floor mats. These floor mats are costing us a ton, and it's causing everything to bog down in the production line. And why is that? And then he starts to find out what's going on with this specific problem. So in the same way, you know, what would it look like for you to take an hour out of your day or a half a day on a Friday or a Thursday to really wrestle with that question of, like, what is the problem I'm trying to, like, if I could just solve one problem in my business that would have the biggest impact, what is that? And if the initial answer is something like, we need more revenue, then the follow-up question would be, okay, well, what problem would I need to solve that if I solved it, revenue would increase? So that might be, okay, if we had more tastings, if we had more people booking, okay, well, what's the problem that I could solve that if I solved it, tastings would automatically go up, bookings would automatically go up? And you have to start just kind of like digging deeper and deeper, asking yourself, it's like any toddler is really good at this. Like, they ask you why a million times, you give them an answer, and they ask why and why and why, and you ask it like 7 times, and you get down to the root of it. You have to be able to do that with the problems and the opportunities in your business. And a lot of times that's where having a good co-pilot, having a partner or another set of eyes can be really helpful, because a lot of times it's hard to do. And I do this stuff every day, and doing it even in my own business is tough. But it's very easy for me to see kind of with clients, which is why I bring, you know, advisors and partners in and around me to help get clarity on the most important thing, which is answering that question of, what is the most important thing?
And what is the most important thing?
Finding out what the most important thing is.
You mean finding out what the most important thing is the most important thing?
100,000 bazillion%, which you can only have 100%, but yes, 100%. That is the most important thing. And the way that you do that is you ask yourself, okay, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? That if I could solve, would make everything else easier, irrelevant, because there is a stack. I call it the priority stack. If you think of it in terms of, you can't have multiple priorities. The word priority literally means prior to. So if my job as the entrepreneur, as the owner, if the most important thing I can do is figuring out what is the most important thing, I have to have this like priority stack. All right, what's the list? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have to be very clear on what is at the top of that stack, that if I did nothing else but I moved this thing forward, or if I solve this problem, the business gets better by default. That's where I need to focus most of my time and attention. But you get so distracted by all the other things that are noisier, louder, that seem like they're important, but they're really not.
Yeah, and I think once you identify it, if you don't even have time to identify it, you have to put it on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And once you do identify it, how much time it's going to take, you have to put it on the calendar. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're just going to get pulled into other directions, and then it's going to become a regret. Mm-hmm. Which I get those a lot. Like, I'm like, why isn't that done? I asked myself to do that 2 weeks ago. And I don't know. I think that's a very interesting place to be, is to figure out exactly what is the most important single thing that you should focus on.
I mean, we got a process for it.
Yeah, and we talked about it. It's like, I think measurement scorecards. If somebody that you're paying can't operate on a revenue scorecard, and they're part of the marketing and sales system and team, or part of the sales and marketing team, they all should have some type of like return, right? Mm-hmm. And keeping the lights on is not a return. Like showing profits, showing a return on my investment. So if you have all these people, sometimes the way to fix that is to put a DRI right on top of a director of revenue. And then you have somebody who just watches over all of those people. Hotels have them. They're called director of sales. Sometimes when hotels aren't, they have a director of sales and marketing, and that's called a DSOM, which I think is sometimes a mistake, because that's one person doing two jobs, right? When you have a director of sales and a director of marketing working in tandem, two people own two separate channels.
Yeah, and they are two very different jobs.
Yeah.
But you're spot on, and that's one of the. I mean, it's why in Accelerator, one of the first things we do with everybody first 30 days is the scorecard, because literally we have to get clear on what is your pipeline, how are we going to measure success, and then by each one of those numbers, there might only be 10 or 12 numbers that we get to that we realize, like, okay, with these 10, 12 numbers, we could measure the health of the business. We know if we're having a good impact and things are working or not, and what needs to be fixed. And next to each one of those numbers is a name. There is a single person that owns each one of those numbers, and that's why that's such a critical part of the process, because there's no other way to be able to identify what is the problem I'm trying to solve, what is the most important thing right now. If you're not measuring, you don't know, and so that's why, like I said, that's why that's critical.
Yeah, well, if you're not measuring, you're just guessing.
Another word for guessing would be gambling. And maybe you like to gamble. But I'll tell you, I like sure bets, especially in business. I mean, gambling can be fun for entertainment, but I don't want to do that with my business. I don't want to do that with my legacy, with my livelihood, with the people that I serve, with the people on my team, with people that buy from us. Not worth gambling.
Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of like, close this out with just kind of like going back to how we got into this whole conversation about systems, right? Like, one, cash flow is king in any business. If you don't have a subscription model, you probably should have one. A subscription model is basically a monthly retainer, and you have the ability to add on from there, but get them sold on one thing that gets you a monthly subscription and revenue coming in, right? So have some kind of retaining clients. Then you build and grow your scale of your business from that. So focus on that model. And then we were talking about like how to do something very simple and cool. If you like don't know how that is done, I was saying from a designer's perspective, we went into a restaurant, we snapped photos of the menus, the wall, the bathroom, all the signage everywhere, the do not disturb us sign, like everything was just disconnected. It didn't even look like like clip art here, original design there, the menu is off. Like I screenshotted their website, I screenshotted their Instagram page, and I dumped it all into Notebook LM. And I went over to ChatGPT and I said, hey, I want to create a retainer model description called the red thread, and I want to run it all the way through a restaurant experience, because when operators get really busy, their visuals begin to drift. And the visual begin to drift is going to connect to your food. You don't think it does, but a disorganized menu sounds to me like a disorganized kitchen. A disorganized visual system sounds like, oh, I really care about my food, but we're too busy to focus on the little details. Right. Like we're not training our staff the right way. Like what is going to drift next, right? Well, we're too busy expanding. Okay, well, how we do anything is how we do everything. So you look at that and I'm like, that's the red thread that starts at the beginning. So I was like, why don't we just build a conversation around it? So I explain that to ChatGPT. Here's the red thread we want to do, and here's how these things work. Give me $1,000 a month, 10 hours retaining system. And then tell us what we're going to do for these restaurant hospitality brands. And all I'm going to do is just send you screenshots. So it gave me at this prompt. I threw that in Notebook LM as the series prompt. And then I just uploaded all the photos to it, and it gave me a proposal. That quick, that done. Now that's for me to go out and basically get 30 new clients. 30 new clients at $1,000 a head. That's $30,000 like recurring revenue monthly. That's a nice problem to have. Who has that problem right now? You know? And you
sounds like that might be the most important thing.
That might be the most important thing. Cash flow. Start there. It's not that hard. And then I went to another restaurant. They sent me an email. Dropped their email, some screenshots, and it kicked out another proposal. And they're beautiful. They land jobs. So don't let yourself get in the way between you and AI about making some money. Because it's not here to replace someone on your team. It's going to just basically replace you, you know?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah. I think that's the pod.
Bud, you got anything else you want to say? Words of wisdom from LA?
from the city of angels?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the job of the entrepreneur is to build the system. The system should build the business. And if you're great at what you do, then it tells me you actually already are really good at systems. You just might need to apply that in a different area. You might be really good at it in running a wait staff. You might be really good at it in putting together a menu or cultivating an experience or running your agency or speaking on stage, whatever your thing might be. You've already got systems. So now your next move is to look and see, where are my systems weak? We see it a lot on the engagement side of things. We see it on the customer acquisition side of things, on the revenue, on the tracking, on the metrics and measurable side of things. So again, you're probably already really good at systems. And if your job as the entrepreneur, the creator, is to build the system so the system can build the business, what's that next system that you got to build? So I think that's a good question to dive into, to kind of like marinate on. If you want to hammer on that with us at all, hit up Brady on Instagram. We would love to jam with you on it, because like I said, I know a lot of times just having someone else to be able to get perspective and insight on this stuff is really helpful, because it can be really difficult sometimes when we've been trying the same thing over and over again, or we're deep in our business and we just need a fresh perspective. Because we could certainly pretty quickly, probably 10, 15 minutes, be able to see, like you did at the restaurant that you were just at, hey, you don't have to do anything with this information, but here's what I'm noticing. And if you dialed in a couple of these systems, you'd probably be creating a better customer experience. You'd be making more money. Everyone would be happier. That kind of perspective is really invaluable. So hit us up.
Hit us up.